Reason why I shot out of law school, but Lord, I trust you. Lord, I understand that you got me representing people that have been charged with first-degree murder, and this is a serious charge, but Lord, you put me here. Lord, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but Lord, I trust you. And I'm not going to lean on my own understanding. I'm going to be obedient and say what you tell me to say. You tell me to go. Just like that song say, I'll go if I have to go by myself. Guess what? We're going to talk about influence today. Now, we can get so caught up, and sometimes we can even get depressed because we want things to go smooth. But I'm cream. Everything ain't gonna be kosher. Lean not on your own understanding, but I want you to think about it like this. If I want to make a knife, what do I have to do? I take a block of metal and I stick it in the fire. And it's hot enough to get that metal red hot and bring it out of that fire and start to beat on it. And when I get done beating on it, now it looks like a knife, but now I got to take a file and start to sharpen it before I can actually use it. The Lord will be the same way with your life. Sometimes you're going to have to get put in the fire. Sometimes you're going to get pulled out and you're going to get beat on. Sometimes even when you start to look like you're making a file going to have to come along, because some of the things that you go through, you simply are not going to understand. But there's a song that my grandmother used to sing. Said, we'll understand it better by and by. Come on now. I can't be the only old trainer here tonight. The things you might not understand it in the moment, but I don't know about you. I can look back over my life and I can see how God's hand. And you know what I said? Yeah, they was telling the truth. I do understand. Lord, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why not you? See, you don't see what God has coming for you. You know, I almost look at it like a coach. How many of you are athlete? Any football players or basketball out there on the court and thing, and you're doing, what you think you're supposed to do? And he can see the entire field. He can see the entire court. And so when he's telling you to do something, you don't need to understand it. You just need to do it. God is the same way. God knows everything because he's omnipresent. He's everywhere. He's omnipotent. He can see the things that guess what? When you start to try to walk by sight, are right here in this book. Isaiah 43:2 says what? When you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. There's another verse that says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Guess what? He didn't say no weapons wouldn't form. All right. I've been a firefighter since I was 15 years old, and I've seen many burning buildings, and I've never been burned once. But you know what's on the top of my helmet? Isaiah 43:2. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. And by these days. Now, so again, I ask you, which channels are you? 6. Verse 6 is written a little bit different. It says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, comma. Now, just a minute ago, these sentences are alike, and they said semicolon, but here it says comma. Now, forgive me if I be a little educated. When you use the word comma in this instance, it's used as what we call a condition precedent, meaning that something has to occur for the next thing to occur, right? So he says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Now, in the law, the word shall is used when we write contracts to insinuate an obligation. That means that you don't have a choice to do that. If you do that, then you have breached your contract. This is the language that is included in this. The Lord shall direct thy path. So if you trust in God with all your heart, if you lean not on in all your ways, you acknowledge him, God has obligated himself to direct your path. God made a promise to you by saying, I shall direct thy path, but there's something that you have to do first. What you got to trust him with all your heart. You got to lean not on your own understanding, and you have to, in all your ways, acknowledge him because he is the one that is going to direct your path. All right. Now, there's a song that me and the pastor talked about a minute ago called This Little Light of Mine. I'm going to let it shine. And as a kid, I used to listen to that song, and I had a keychain and I had a little light on it, and every time they sang it, I'd turn my little light on, and this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. But as I grew older, Young man, let your light shine on the football field. Young ladies, let your light shine on the praise team. And I'm going to tell you how bright this light was, because while the praise team was up here, I looked in the back. And there were two young ladies with a blue bow on their head. And they look younger than the other girls, so I'm assuming that they aren't old enough to be on their praise team. But while that team was up here, those eyes were lit up. They were glued to these older girls up here dancing. So young women on the praise team, guess what? Somebody is watching you too. I know you feel like you're young and nobody's looking up to you, but there are people in this church, there are people in your school, people in your community that are looking up to you. Even Jesus preached in a synagogue when he was a child. So just because you're young too can be used by God. So Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, yeah, everybody. Y'all got followers too. Guess what? Influencing somebody. The things that you post, your light should shine that you post. Your light should shine in the way that you carry conversation. Your light should shine in the way that they're not feeding you and they're not financing you. You got to let your light shine. You have to live a life so that others can see the Lord in you. Actual food at all. But it is the word of the living God way that I should go. You should want people to say, pick up my cross and follow me, because guess what? If the Lord is directing your path and other people are following you, what are you doing? Lead them to God. That's what it's all about. And it doesn't matter how old or how young you are, we can all be used as a vessel, and we can all be used by God. So now the Bible says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall. God will tell you whether or not that man or that woman is good for you. God will tell you whether or not you should make this purchase on this vehicle or make this purchase on this house. Who are you allowing to influence you? Is it God? Will you be quick to anger? Will you stay cool and let God rectify the situation? Will you lose your temper? Start to get confusing to you. Don't lean on your own understanding, because just like that old song I said earlier, you understand it better by and by. And I don't know about you, but I would like to subscribe to Christ. Why do I subscribe to Christ? Because this world is not my home.